I live in Michigan and I am in a piss poor mood today. So fair warning, I don't know if you can see any of this. I know you can definitely see it in the sky, but there's a huge haze over everything and it smells like a chemically metallic bonfire outside, which has been explained to us via cell phone alert that this is due to another Canadian wildfire. This is nothing new in the state of Michigan, but I don't buy into anything anymore because I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I went away with coincidence a long time ago. Sorry, I'm going to put this on a little stand so I can talk to you. Yeah, I believe that I'm in a piss poor mood for a couple of reasons. Number one, whatever upgrades they are doing to the environment is really messing with a lot of people, not just me. There's a very clear divide. Either people are having poor attitudes like I am right now, or their level of entitlement goes through the roof on days like today. And I don't buy into it's just the air quality or it's just a rainy, cloudy day. People drive crazy when the sun comes out. I don't buy into any of those explanations because they don't make sense. They just do not make sense to me. I understand hormonal driven things. I understand the seasonal depression and all of that kind of stuff. There is validity to it. But there comes a time where you just have to start seeing the forest for the trees, so to speak. I do not find a coincidence that Michigan just had a 100-degree day, even higher with the humidity. And then the very next day, there is a Canadian wildfire. Now, this is Michigan. It's humid. It's a different type of heat. It's not like wildfires just spark in Canada and Michigan like they would in California. And also, there are schedules for controlled burns of forestry to prevent forest wildfires from actually happening. So my whole thing is this a wildfire? It probably is a fire. I don't believe that it is wild. I think everything is strategic right now. And it's not lost on me that I live in the state of Michigan where there is a ton of fresh water, which there's a huge debate with all of the data centers that are going on. And I kind of roll my eyes at that because this is all stuff that's been around forever. It's just being introduced publicly to citizens. But it's not just that. It's the fact that there was a 100-degree day, so people were already inside yesterday cranking up their AC, which is electricity controlled by the monopoly system here in Metro Detroit of DTE. There is no other option. DTE is always doing upgrades, making billion-dollar profits, and claiming that all of these raises in fees are for infrastructure and to do the fiber optics for better cell phone, for better connectivity, for better Wi-Fi, for better insert whatever you want to here. And they've been saying this for years and years and years. But what has been happening with DTE? The cell phone service is much worse. The Wi-Fi and computer and electricity, much worse. I don't find it coincidental also that hundreds of thousands of people will lose power for weeks on end from a 5-minute deluge storm, which aren't like typical storms. These look like tornadoes they look like tornadoes, uprooted trees, the whole thing, severe thunderstorms. This is Michigan. In all of my years of living here, I have been through a ton of storms, hailstorms, thunderstorms. There has been tornadoes. These are not regular thunderstorms. The wind alone, what is going on? And I'm just sitting here going, obviously there is manipulated weather. We already know this, but it goes further than that, okay? People lose power, then they lose their groceries. They have to go and buy more groceries. They have to buy their bottled water. Keep cranking up that AC. Crank it up. Stay in your house. You can't go outside. Now the temperature is tolerable, but you can't breathe, so you gotta stay inside. And when I go to the gym, what do I see? Everyone in masks. not just outside, but inside as well. And it just threw me right back to Corona, where they tried to tell you that there were things in the air. Hence, stay 6 feet away. That couldn't possibly be about the human biofield 6 feet away, right? But now they're manufacturing something else to put the mask back on. So now you're going to have another bacterial infection going around. You're going to have more parasites going around. And I'm just sitting here going like, my prediction was so true. Everything and the kitchen sink. Everything and the kitchen sink. But if you take a step back and you look objectively, everything makes perfect sense. There are upgrades going on. There is infrastructure going on because they have to roll out the things that they've been doing. Because now the plan is coming into play when it comes to connectivity between humans, technology, environment. It's all happening and they can't hide it any longer. So they have to slowly roll it out. And it's going a little bit faster than probably it should be because people are catching on and are debating about things, but they're debating the small things. They're debating the data centers. They're debating the price of the electricity. They're debating the water usage. They're debating the pollution. I'm sitting there going like, this was all happening forever ago. I don't know how else to explain this to people. It's very hard to navigate dealing with people right now. And it's not because I think they're dumb. It's not because I think I'm better than anybody else. It's just that when you sit on this information, like, it gets extremely frustrating to have the small talk. Extremely frustrating. People will complain about their lawns being, all dug up by the animals, and mine is too. But I'm sitting here going like, nobody's asking the question, why are the animals acting so crazy lately? Why are moles coming up midday, which doesn't happen? They're coming up midday and just crawling across a lawn. Birds are not afraid of people anymore. Squirrels are not afraid of dogs anymore. Skunks coming out in the middle of the day. And yeah, you can say they're foraging for food and they're doing all this stuff. This is very different. This is very different this summer. The voles, like I said, the moles, there's so much activity going on, more activity than I've seen in ever. And I'm like, there's something going on with the vibration of the earth. There's something going on with what they're building in the atmosphere, or what they're trying to break through in the atmosphere, what they're trying to manipulate with the atmosphere, which all comes down to connectivity, but it's not connectivity to the phone and it's not connectivity to the computer. It's connectivity to us. And I can't talk like this without sounding like a freaking cuckoo bird, to be completely frank. I just... So as part of my piss poor mood, but I also think that whatever they are doing with the upgrades, and with what they are publicly starting to roll out, I don't like liars, so I don't like when they're like, oh, it's wildfire, oh, it's a storm, oh, it's a this. Like, just, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Just be honest about it. Like, we're people, we're still supposed to have free will. But the why behind everything is what's really driving me nuts. Like, why would we need to have the connectivity to humans? Why would we need to have all these people getting on board with AI and the technology and the new medical advancements? Why do we need this? Do you really think these people care about humanity? I don't think so. I think this is about power, money, control, and giving God the middle finger. It's just, there's just people out there that want to be God. They want the power, they want the control, and this is how they're doing it. They're bastardizing God's perfect system and making it man-made. And this is how I feel about pharmaceuticals. Like, God gave us everything that we need for healing, but here comes the pharmaceutical companies and they're going to put their little mark on it, and then guess what happens? People get sicker from this stuff. So I just see everything very much hinging on one thing after another. Today I took my dog for a walk this morning, a very short walk because it smells like garbage outside. And there was an old man watering his lawn. He's a Christian dude. He's very cool. But he was complaining about DTE. He was complaining about the wildfire and some other things, some politics. And usually I just stay quiet. And I stayed quiet this time too. But every once in a while, I will try to kind of like test how far I can take a conversation. So when he was complaining about the wildfire, I said, yeah, well, I don't believe in coincidence. And I wait to see the response. If somebody says, well, what do you mean? Then I know I can kind of introduce a little bit of research and studying and knowledge to him. But he just kind of like, yeah. And then I was like, yeah, he's not accepting of it. And that's fine. So we ended that conversation. And then I kept walking, and here comes another guy in the neighborhood, and he walks around barefoot. He's very much into grounding, and I love that. But to me, there's something a little bit off in his speech and how he communicates. And it's very flowery. It's very much, we need to love forevermore. It is about the connection evermore. And it's very, to me, I'm not going to say it's fake. It just seems very manufactured, but very well practiced, if that makes sense to anybody out there. And he's studied Christianity. He said he came out of the faith, so he's spiritual, which is fine. I can get along with anybody. But he knows where I stand with things. I'm not a yes person either, so we were talking, and I said what I thought about the wildfires, and he just kind of laughed. He's like, yeah, I'm glad that you know that. I've done that kind of studying too. And I was like, yep, awesome. And then he started talking about faith-based, and I just said, there's something that the Muslims definitely have over the Christians. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, they have dedication and discipline that is unparalleled. Christianity is either highly judgmental, and people need to prove their intelligence with, oh, I know Hebrew, or this is the proper way to say Jesus' name. I said apologetics are great, but I said you're supposed to display the light of Christ first and foremost, which means love your neighbor as yourself. If you get a grasp on that before you start going toe to toe with people. There's so much argument and so much debate going on, so people are looking for fights, and Christians are supposed to be set apart. When it comes to Muslims that I know, their dedication and their discipline to their faith, they really put their faith where their mouth is. I don't agree with their faith, but they do have that going on. It's either Christians want to argue, or Christians are very flippant about things and don't take anything seriously. Very rarely do you have people that are just truly displaying the light of Christ. This is why I surprise people when I say, yeah, I got my ministry credentials. I went to school and took a bunch of classes just to learn for myself, and it just kind of added up until I had the credentials. I don't want to pastor a church. I don't want to marry people. I mean, I minister to people one-on-one, and they minister back to me. But anyway, this gentleman said, the Muslims, they just have a lust after their own religion. And I said, I'm going to gently disagree with you on that one. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, having discipline and dedication is not lust. And then he wanted to come back and say, well, God is not going to give somebody discipline to follow a false religion and a false God. And I said, why wouldn't he? I said, you think that God is the type of father that says, hey, I'm going to give you the gift of wisdom, intellect, and discipline, but only if you follow me? I said, some people have wisdom in their own sight, and it's not godly wisdom. Some people are dedicated to the wrong thing, but those are all tools that God can use, turn around, and use for his use. Eventually, God knows the beginning and the end. We don't. I'm like, before I became a Christian, I had a ton of talents, gifts, and abilities that I wasn't using for the glory of God. And then when I came to Christ, those things, those talents that I had, completely got turned into glorifying God with those gifts. I said, you don't think the same thing can happen with Muslims? And he was like, well, that's an interesting way to think about it. And I said, yeah, people want to talk about an all-loving father, but they display God isn't going to give witches gifts. God isn't going to give Satanists gifts. We're all his creation. He gives us all gifts. It's our choice what we do with them, and he knows the beginning and the end. Who are we to say like, there are a lot of people that I know that I don't agree with that have phenomenal gifts. And if they came to Christ and used them for the good, oh my gosh, it'd be unstoppable. And who knows? That might happen in the future. So I don't like to degrade anybody's faith. I don't like to degrade anybody, period. And I don't want to say that any gifts that come to people are given by the devil or given by the adversary. Everything has to be done with God's permission. So that was interesting. My small talk skills were definitely in the toilet today. I already have a hard time with small talk, but today I just felt like I was being challenged right away of like, sit down, shut up, don't say anything, don't say anything. You're going to sound cuckoo bird. You're going to sound, they're not ready to hear it. When they're ready, and I'm just like, today I just didn't care, and I think that has to do with what's going on in the atmosphere. There were experiments done back in the day, I believe in Seattle, I think by the military-industrial complex. I'm not quite sure, but I'm 89% sure, where they were doing low vibration frequencies in Seattle, like over the speakers, but you couldn't hear it. But they would work energetically. And if I am recalling correctly, it was testing on if they could control people's emotions. And they used the excuse of, in case riots broke out, they wanted to be able to control a population without having to go in and use violence. So of course it sounds virtuous. Is that true? I don't know. But when I read that, that's what it said the reason for that whole experiment was, but they ended up getting rid of the experiment after a while. And it didn't surprise me that around this certain time, people were talking about all of the depression and suicides going on in Seattle, and the explanation was that it was rainy and people got sad, and when people get sad, they off themselves, and that's just what happened. And then all of a sudden, those stories went away. But that was all around the same time. So it's the same thing when it came to the Hadron Colliders. Like, yeah, people know about CERN, but there's ton of those colliders around the country, and I know one was in University of Michigan a while back, and I found that lecture, and now it's scrubbed from the internet because I can't find it again. But I know that they closed that one down, and I do know somebody during that time who is a friend of mine who actually did something very out of character and is no longer with us. So a lot of things, like, I don't believe in coincidence, and when you put it together, it makes perfect sense. In today's world, I know people are not accepting of the way that I think because it sounds outlandish, but in my opinion, Occam's razor is getting all the information, putting the pieces together with the easiest solution. And that's what I do. So I think my stance is Occam's razor. I think other people that are like, oh, it's just a wildfire. Oh, it's just a storm. Oh, it's just... They don't have all the information, therefore that is their version of Occam's razor. So I think the ease of answer really comes with how much time you've invested into knowing what's really going on and being aware of what's really going on. So I have to remember that so I don't become judgmental. I just know that today I have some stinking thinking. And I got to get out of it and take every thought captive. And just kind of take a deep breath. I'll do some computer work and some more editing today. Maybe I'll do some painting, which perfectly segues into my next topic. Okay, I'll try to keep it short. I want this under 20 minutes. Let's see if I can pull it off. I did not announce this channel to anyone, so I think I had like 2 followers last week. And I haven't told anybody about it because I keep my social media private, even on Instagram, even though I run businesses and things like that. I'm very weary of people knowing my business, but I felt the need to start a second channel that has to do with things that I like to talk about and things that I think are applicable to the world today and to people today. So I started Reluctant Expert, and that was a play on my first business, RX Training, which was prescription for health to the ridiculously extreme. That is my first business. I still do that. But that was my kitschy little name. So that's why it's called that. Number 1. Number 2, this is something, if you happen to follow me, which, great, thank you. I wasn't planning on this quickly. But I just record a bunch of videos on my phone, and I just keep recording until I get notification that my storage is up, and then I go ahead and upload everything on YouTube, keep it private, and then I go back and I watch some of them to see if they make sense to anybody else or possibly anyone else, and then I'll go ahead and release them. So when I do that, I just do a whole day of uploading until YouTube says I've hit my limit. And then I'll go and release 2 or 3 every single day until I catch up, and then I can get rid of my storage on my phone and all that good stuff. So if you happen to follow me and you see an upload, a release, those aren't all from the same day. Some of these videos are from like 2 months ago, 4 weeks ago. Today is today, so I'll probably release this one. But I hope that doesn't annoy you. I'm not a content creator. I just like to blather around sometimes. But I wanted to thank Sabrina for linking the channel or my video under there. So thank you. And thank you for not taking offense for anything. And thank you for everyone who left kind comments. That was very unexpected. Now, pertaining to that, I do listen to Sabrina all the time, and something stuck with me in a video that I heard. And it wasn't the topic of the video, but she was talking about how she had to take out a second mortgage in order to pay for her daughter's college. And that hit me because this woman does a lot of research. She does a lot of work. She's very vigilant. Now she's teaching people all these things at mini symposiums and teachings, and she travels a lot, and gas prices alone are through the roof. So I don't know if Sabrina charges for any of this stuff. From what I'm gleaning, I'm assuming if she does charge something, it's very minimal, just probably to cover the cost of wherever she's holding it. And I could be wrong. I don't know. But somebody who helps out this much should not have to take out a second mortgage on their home to help pay for college. So I'm not rich. I don't know what I could do, but I was brainstorming, and I thought, I do very weird paintings. Like that one's double-minded. Those are some anatomical things, but I went in my closet and found some old paintings that I did when I was getting my head wrapped around a lot of what Sabrina brings up. So if Sabrina would like, or Boomba or anybody in her sphere would like any of these paintings or designs, I could take pictures or make them into a PDF or whatever. If you want to turn any of this into t-shirts, mugs, merch, whatever, to sell online on print on demand or something and make some money, gas money at least, or you want to make something to sell at any of these meetings and teachings that you do, you are more than welcome to have them. I don't know what else I have to offer. Yes, I'm a supporter, but I ain't rich. But I can't offer this. So if you want any of them, you let me know. I will show you a couple of them. This is my transhuman DNA. It's metallic. I don't know if you can actually tell, but I thought that would be cool on like sleeves. I don't know. I have one of my funky Cole Medina Schumann residents. So I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in. This one is a depiction of mirror, if you know, you know. And Schumann resonance, vibration, all that good stuff. So this is kind of like the human/atmosphere type of thing going on here. And this one I think would probably make the best mug or t-shirt. But this is my depiction of the human biofield. I know people are used to this type of thing, but if you can look up very close, I painted all these little lines because to me the black, white, and gray is actually the machinery, the technology, and you can see that big old biofield is what takes over and makes us powerful. So I don't know if you want any of these to make into something. Not that you need it. I'm sure you have. I'm sure Sabrina has her things handled, but I was just trying to brainstorm on what could I do for a thank you, so to speak, for all the information, education she's given me, and all the inspiration she's given me to research on my own for all these years. So, on that note, I hope you have a great day, and to be continued. Okay.